Barakallahu fikum. Tayyib, so we're going to continue here in Al-Mukhtasar Al-Lateef, the light summary, which is also called Al-Mukhtasar Al-Saghir, the small summary. And we are on the section about the conditions of Tayammum. So the author says, section, Rahimahullah, the conditions of Tayammum are, question for you. What is the definition of Tayammum, please? What is the definition of tayammum, please? 5, 4. That's more of an attempt at a translation, but I gave you a definition. 3, 2, 1. Let's see. It's the sick part. You have more time to look in your notes. Well, just so I can keep the lesson flowing. That's why I even do a countdown. I used to just ask and then wait for someone to answer, and then it's like dead space. So I do countdowns just to keep the lesson flowing. But I can start you off, and then maybe you can finish. So tayammum is applying soil. Dot dot dot. How do you finish that? Tayammum is applying soil. Dot dot dot. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So tayammum is applying soil to the face and hands instead of making wudu or ghusl or washing an organ. Applying soil to the face and hands instead of making wudu, and instead of a ghusl, and instead of washing an organ, yani, or a part of an organ. So tayammum replaces 3 things. Tayammum is a replacement purification. Tayammum is an emergency purification. And tayammum is not sought in itself. It's not sought in itself. What does that mean? That means it's not something you do for itself. Yani, like, for example, it's sunnah to remake your wudu, even if you don't have to pray. So, since it's sunnah to remake your wudu, even if you don't have to pray, this is an indication that wudu is something that is itself sought. For you to be sought to make wudu doesn't require that you need to pray or you need to make tawaf or need to touch the Quran. Rather, you can just simply make wudu. Is this the case with tayammum? Can you say, oh, well, here's some soil right here. Why don't I just make a tayammum and keep going? And I can get reward for a quick worship. No, you don't do it. It's not valid even. Tayammum needs a key to unlock it. The key being the emergency. So, the conditions of tayammum are, and what did we cover so far? We covered approximately the definition of tayammum here. He says tayammum is obligatory when unable to use water, yani, for being in a state of lesser or greater religious impurity. So that means you're going to make tayammum when you need wudu or ghusl. When unable to use water, and when one has on his body a wound that is harmed by water, then he makes tayammum also. 3 reasons. But he didn't say it here like a definition. The definition is sprinkled throughout his words here. So we covered that. Yani, what is the tayammum? Why are you going to make tayammum? We talked at length about the issue of the wound. And this is the Shafi'i school. So not necessarily all the schools are going to say that tayammum replaces a wound. There are indeed madhabs that are easier than the Shafi'i school in these cases of the wound and the cast. Why would Ash-Shafi'i make these conditions that he made? Because he is going after the evidence. He's going after what appears to him of the evidence. This is what the evidence drove him to say it all of like this way. Then we talked about the obligations of the tayammum. Those are the integrals of the tayammum. Now we are here at the conditions of the tayammum. And the first one that he put is seeking the soil. Actually, this one here, I'm not sure why he said it this way. I'll have to review that there. I was wondering why I had it highlighted. Now I see why. Yeah, what does he have to do with the soil? This one. Well, the soil is a condition for the tayammum, just like water is a condition for wudu. So what does he mean seeking this soil? Al-qasdu ila turab, I'm not sure. You want to make tayammum, you're going to get soil. If you want to make wudu, you're going to get water. Yani, the soil is the wudu water of tayammum. That's a metaphor. Then he said that the soil would be pure, purifying, and unmixed. Pure means what? Tell me. The soil would be pure means what? 5, 4, 3, 2. That it hasn't touched unexempted najis. Okay, I'll accept that. That it's not contaminated. It's not filthy soil. Correct. So the soil has to be pure and purifying and unmixed. Purifying means makes other things pure. But then you might have a question. You might say the soil makes other things pure. I thought you said that when you make tayammum, it doesn't get you out of the state of impurity. Didn't you say Tayammum does not lift the religious impurity, and therefore your intention in tayammum would have to be permitting prayer, and your intention cannot be lifting the impurity because it will not do so. So what is the meaning then of purifying soil here? The meaning of purifying soil here is not used already for another act of purification. It's like the author is saying unused soil. Yes, I'll repeat. So we said previously, and you should know very well here, for having a more complete understanding of the book of purification, Kitab al-Tahara, that tayammum does not lift the state of impurity, the hadath. How do you lift the small hadath with wudu? How do you lift the big hadath with ghusl? What if you don't have the water for wudu or ghusl, or you can't use it, and you are in a state of either big or small hadath? Then what do? Then you resort to soil. So you might say, so the soil is going to get you out of your big or small hadath then, since you are using it instead of water? The answer is no. You will not get out of the state of hadath by using the soil. So then you might say, well, what does it do for me then? Then I would say to you, it makes it permissible for you to pray. It is a procedure. It is a ritual. You must go through this ritual procedure to pray. So then you might say to me, okay, now I have two questions for you. So I'll say, all right, what's your first question? So you will say, if if tayammum does not lift the state of religious impurity, then why is it counted as an act of purification? I will say to you, because purification includes what replaces purification. What replaces the original purification? Purification includes what replaces the original purification. Purification includes what replaces the original purification. So that's why tayammum is purification. Then you might say, okay, I had my other question is, if tayammum does not lift the state of religious impurity, then what is the meaning of the statement of the author that the soil has to be purifying? What purifying does this soil do if it doesn't lift the state of impurity? So my answer to you is, what he means is unused soil. Unused soil. Why? Because unused soil is the soil that you can use for purification. Used soil you cannot use for purification. So therefore, we're not going to call used soil purifying because you can't use it for purification. Then you might say to me, okay, I think I get it. But let me ask you, what are the cases of using soil? How would someone use soil? You mean he used it for tayammum already? Somebody used it for tayammum already? Then I would say yes. Someone used it for tayammum already. Or for removing dog filth. Don't you use soil for removing dog filth? Yes. 7 washes, 1 mixed with soil. So then that soil is used. It has been used in purification already. You can't use it again. So don't get that soil for tayammum. Get another one. Or get some other soil. Another condition, the author said that there would be 2 strikes. A strike for the face and a strike for the hand. Yes, not less than 2 strikes. Because that's what came in the hadith. At-tayammumu darbatan. Tayammum is 2 strikes. So less than 2 strikes is not valid, and more than 2 strikes is valid. He said that it would be started after the time enters. Yes, because it's an emergency purification. So you cannot initiate it before verification of the emergency. And the emergency starts when the time comes in. He said that it be renewed for every obligation. Yes, tayammum is good for only one obligation. It's good for one obligation and unlimited recommended voluntary deeds. You said, so the third condition is the time has to be in? Yes. And what does it mean that the time is in? Yani, I think it is clear for you, but let me be more clear for you. Let me broaden it for you. The time is in means, for example, if you want to pray Dhuhr, but it didn't come in yet, and you already know you're going to have to make tayammum, then you have to wait for it to actually start and then make your tayammum. You can't make tayammum ahead of time. So that's clear for you. Another example, you want to make up prayers that you missed. So the time already came in. So you can make your tayammum and pray. Another example, you want to touch the mushaf. Does touching the mushaf have any special time? No. So then when does the time come in? When you want to do it. So then you make tayammum. You don't make tayammum ahead of time. I think that's clear, inshallah ta'ala. You can follow up if you want to. And that it would be renewed for every obligation. Tayammum is good for only one obligation and for unlimited optional deeds. So you can pray with one tayammum, an obligatory prayer, and all of the sunnahs that go with it. Like, inshallah, you know, there's 4 rakats sunnah before dhuhr, 4 rakats sunnah after dhuhr. Dhuhr, which is 4 rakats itself. 4 times 3 is 12. You can get all those 12 rakats with one tayammum. And then you can keep praying the unrestricted voluntary prayers of the daytime. Praying and praying and praying. 2 by 2 until Asr comes. And you can even pray the sunnahs of Asr But then when you want to pray Asr, you have to make a new tayammum because it's obligatory. Or for example, the Imam for Jumu'ah needs to make tayammum for his khutbah because khutbah requires purification. What requires purification like this? Prayer, circling the Kaaba, delivering the khutbah. These are obligations here. So the Imam of the Jumu'ah, he needs to make tayammum. So he does so and he gives the speech. That's obligatory. Now he wants to perform the prayer. That's another obligation. So he has to do a new tayammum. Or a person wants to make up prayers. Let's say he had a day's worth of prayers to make up. He's ready to pray all 5 prayers back to back. So he has to make a new tayammum for each one. Because tayammum is good for one obligation. Or a person wants to pray an obligatory prayer and perform an obligatory tawaf. Then he'll need 2 different tayammums. So the way the author said it here, that it would be renewed for every obligation, this is a good way of saying this. And what some say is that it would be renewed for every prayer or every obligatory prayer. If you say it that way, for every obligatory prayer, then that's just trying to be easy, or it's being easy. When you say it this way, renewed for every obligation, then that's being more exact. Then the words will be more encompassing. And that one searches for water before making tayammum after the entrance of the time. Yes, this is another aspect of the details of tayammum. Tayammum is a very detailed chapter. This case of searching for water, that's detailed. The case of wiping on the cast and wiping on, yani, having the wound that you can't wash, along with having a bandage over it that covers some of the healthy part, that's a detailed aspect of tayammum. Also, even talking about the sickness that makes tayammum permissible. It's a little bit detailed, or it can be, but that's easy to comprehend more. Yani, it's easier to comprehend. That part is easier to comprehend, the sickness part. Here he says that one searches for water before making tayammum after the entrance of the time. Okay, as for after, yes, no. After the entrance, what's after the entrance of the time? Not making tayammum after the entrance of the time. You might say, you just told us you can't make tayammum before the time comes in. Yeah, that's true. But after the entrance of the time here doesn't go with making tayammum, goes with searching for the water. Search for the water after the entrance of the time, before making tayammum. What does the Arabic say? وأن يفتش عن الماء قبل التيمم بعد دخول الوقت. So yeah, this matches the word order in the Arabic sentence in terms of translation. We could go like this. And before making tayammum, that one searches for water after the entrance of the time. Now it's very clear in English. Question: what if you searched beforehand? Would one need to search again after the time comes in? That's a very good question. I'm going to answer that inshallah. The answer for that was coming, alhamdulillah, without you asking. So, before making tayammum, that one searches for water after the entrance of the time. So, first of all, who is this one? This is not the sick one. Because the sick one can't use water, so why would he search for it? So this is the traveler. Most likely he's a traveler. It's possible that he's not a traveler, that he's in town without being a traveler. But it's not usual that that would be your case and you can't find any water. Not under normal circumstances, that is. So he searches for water after the entrance of the time. He means not someone else. Not someone else searches for water, and then when he's ready to go search for the water, that one says, you don't have to look, I already looked. That's not sufficient unless you appointed him to look on your behalf. And it's possible for a whole group, to appoint a single person to look on their behalf. Then if he comes back and says, I didn't find any water, they can all make tayammum. But without appointing him, anyone who is not involved in appointing this searcher cannot rely on what he says about not finding water. So, I still didn't answer that part for you yet. Hold on. He looks in his luggage. Yeah, it's the first thing he does for the possibility that he does have water and it slipped him. Then he checks his companions. And in his vicinity, he calls out, does anyone have water? Meaning he's not obligated to ask them one by one. And if anyone has water at market price for that time and place, and he can afford that water, then he has to buy it. Now, let's say he made tayammum and he prayed. And tayammum is only good for one obligation. That was dhuhr. Then the asr came in. Does he have to look for water again? As long as he deems it possible that there is water, he will have to look again. Yes, I can repeat again. So, here, he says the part about buying water. Yes, okay. So he calls out, does anyone have water? Because he's not obligated to ask them one by one. And if he wants, he can say, does anyone have water that he's willing to part with even for a price? Does anyone have water that he's willing to part with even for a price? What's this? What's this wording here? That is asking, yani, that's giving someone an idea to give you water for free, but not leaving it to be free in case he does have it and wouldn't give it for free. And if you don't offer to buy it, maybe he won't tell you he has any. So don't just ask for it for free. You say, does anyone have water that he can part with, even for a price? for example. So that if he does have water and he's not willing to give it to you for free, but he is willing to sell it to you, then now you gave him that option. And then, inshallah, if he offers it to you at market price, then you're obligated to buy it if you can afford it. That's clear, inshallah. Now, let's say that was Luhr. Now it's Asr. Does he have to look again? As long as he deems it possible that there is water, he would have to look again. If he deems it possible, then he would have to look again? Yes. Why would he deem it possible that there's still water? Because maybe the first time he checked, he missed something. So just because he didn't find it doesn't mean there isn't any. So then he looks again. And it could be that eventually he becomes knowing that there is no available water. Not within the proximity of seeking help. Not within the proximity of seeking help. He might know now after some time, now he searched 2, 3, 4 times, for example, resulting in him combing the land looking for water. And then he became knowing, yani confident, there's no water here. Now he doesn't have to search anymore. He can just make tayammum when the time comes in. That's the range of seeking help. It's not very far. The range of seeking help you can cover really with your eyes. Because that's as far as you can go and then call out to your companions and they can still hear you. They can still hear you even if they were busy with pitching tents and with pots. They can still hear you if you were to call out to them. This distance could be covered by your mere eyes, and therefore, if there is no obstruction in the land, no bushes, no walls, etc., no dips, just level land without any obstructions, then it's enough for you just to look into the 4 directions. And if you don't see any water, you make tayammum. But if there are obstructions, then you need to physically go and look to see if there's any water. Things such as birds you want to pay attention to. There's some birds circling or congregating, or also greenery. Those spots you want to check them. Okay, that's the or what else you can do instead of moving around looking, you can climb up something and look. Get an aerial view and look, and if you don't see any water, you make tayammum. That's the distance of seeking help. Then there's a range called close proximity. Close proximity. Close proximity is further than the distance for seeking help or the range for seeking help. In the chapter of Tayammum, there's 3 circles. The smallest circle is the range of seeking help. The middle circle is close proximity. And what's beyond that, that's far. Are you obligated to seek water at close proximity? The answer is, if you know it's there, then yes. If you know it's there. What are you doing in rescue range? You're looking for water that you don't know if it's there or not. If you don't know that there's water in close proximity, then why would you go looking for it? You don't have to go further than the proximity of seeking help because you don't know there's water in close proximity. But if you know there is water in close proximity, then you have to go and get it. How far is close proximity? Yes, I can repeat. In the chapter of Tayammum, you have 3 circles. So, let's say you are travelers. You set up camp somewhere. There's what's around you. Some patches of grass, some dirt, maybe a tree here and there. And then when it's time to pray, do you know that there's no water around? So let's say you don't know. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Then you are obligated to search for it. How far do you have to go? As far as rescue range. Rescue range. Rescue range is smaller than close proximity. You don't have to go further when you don't know that there's water in close proximity. But if you know that there is water in close proximity, then you're obligated to go get it. What is close proximity? Close proximity is a distance that people normally trek for their needs. Like what? Like to get firewood. How far is someone willing to go collect firewood and bring it back home? Or like for grazing their sheep. How far is someone willing to go to take his sheep for grazing? You might say to me, this is vague. Can you tell me something more exact? I'm confused. I would say to you, don't be confused. If you want to understand fiqh, then you need to understand the likes of these obscurities. This is part of understanding fiqh. Yes, it is vague. That's true. How far is someone willing to go to collect firewood? How far is someone willing to go to graze his sheep? It is, though, farther than rescue distance. That distance is further than rescue distance. That's the distance you're going to say, hey, guys, I'll be back. Inshallah, I'll be back. I'll go get us some firewood. And then you disappear. Inshallah, he'll be back. That distance, if the water is that close, then you're obligated, you know it's there, then you're obligated to go fetch it. The third circle is wider than that. That's far. What if you know that there's water farther than close proximity? You're not obligated to go get it. So here are the levels here. If you don't know if there's water around, then you have to search for it in rescue range. If you know that there is water in close proximity, that's further than rescue range though, then you're obligated to go get it. And if you know that there's water far away, you're not obligated to go get it. Is this clear?
Sorry, Shaykh. Take the mic, please.
Yes, please.
So you said if it's rescue range, you're obligated to search for it.
Yes.
Okay. And close proximity, if you know about it,
Yeah.
you're obligated to get it.
Yes.
But if you don't know about it, are you obligated to search?
No, because that's
No.
further than rescue range. When you don't know that there's water, you only have to go as far as rescue range.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. When you know there isn't any water in close proximity, you can make tayammum immediately without searching. If you know there isn't any water in close proximity, you can immediately make tayammum. So if you know there is water far away, so far away means further than close proximity, then you don't have to go get it, even if you could get there inside the prayer time. Because that's a difficulty, and the religion does not burden us with difficulties. Before we go, let me just mention quickly for you some offshoot cases here. Sometimes you have water, but it's like you don't have water because you need it for your thirst later, or for your animal's thirst later. Then you can keep that water and make tayammum now. Also, sometimes there is water in close proximity, but you are unable to access it. Why? Because there might be an enemy there. There might be a Yahudi with a rifle there. Or there might be a beast there, a lion, for example, or a cougar or something. Or maybe you fear for your belongings. You can't take your belongings to go get that close water. And if you just leave your belongings to go get that close water, someone will take it. Then make tayammum. Or there is a water hole that only accommodates one person, for example, and there is a line, and if you wait for your turn, the prayer time will go out. Then you make tayammum. Wallahu a'lam. Any last question?